It's just about time for Game 2, WE versus EDG. Two of the oldest organizations, one of the longest rivalries, and after that game number 1, one of the longest games of the split. We'll have to see if that happens in Game 2, but welcome back, Frosco, Clement. We got to get right into this because players are they're getting towards stage real quick. What are we looking for?
We're looking for an early winning lane coming out from WE. If you don't play the Varus, at least play the Caitlyn for me, please. And for EDG, just be more decisive. Hammer it home when you have the chance.
I think that's a fat chance that we'll ever get a winning lane matchup on Team WE. But I do agree, I would love to see it. Normally, though, they have a much higher first blood participation than EDG do, but that comes through Condi. So what I want Team WE to do is not necessarily focus on a winning lane matchup, but at least a winning jungle matchup. So Condi can be that proactive force that we know him to be.
Of course, now returning towards his team, of course, WE playing with their sub in Week 1, perhaps shaking off a little bit of the rust of the past few days, because again, both of these two teams went to Worlds as the LPL's representatives just a few months ago. The third team that went to Worlds and also made it to the semifinals is on an 0-4 loss streak, RNG. So these teams fighting for a little bit more than just the rivalry at this point.
Yeah, like I said, yes, these are completely different teams than the betrayers of old, but they are still fighting over the throne. WE, EDG, and RNG. Those are the three names you're going to hear over and over. It doesn't matter who's at the top of the standings, because until you perform in playoffs, you don't deserve to approach the crown.
Well, we'll have to see who's going to take the crown home for this last game of intra-conference play, because we're nearly a third of the way through the split. We're not going to get to see these teams clash again until the fact that
Week
7, 8, and 9. And I'm so excited to see, yeah, because EDG, they came prepared, they came ready, they just couldn't quite close it out.
Yeah, I do feel like EDG has looked a lot less dominant than their previous splits before. A lot of it does have to come down to Haro. Sometimes they have to ban out a lot of champions to keep him in a good matchup. And you see that Haro throws things into their cogs where they want to snowball this early game.
Yeah, I think there will be an adjustment to iBoy's champion pool. I think this is easy enough to go backstage and say, we're going for Kog'Maw.
All right, well, we'll see if that's what EDG decide to go for. But now it's time for us to send it on over to our casters to get us into game number 2.
Thank you so much, guys. And that's my question for you, Raz. Is every game going to be like game 1? Because I don't know if I have the lung capacity to keep going through all of that. That was crazy.
Yep.
Like back-to-back team fights. WE holding on and holding on, finally getting to that late game.
I mean, I just hope, probably not for like just for my heart rate. I just really hope that it doesn't come out
can't take
like
my blood pressure's too high.
Yeah, but that was an incredible one, and that kind of showcases what WE can do when they're behind with that composition. So great that EDG are, I mean, for them, they're on blue side, because that is your priority. It's not going to be too much of a priority unless if they, I would say Scout would pick it up for himself.
Yeah, maybe you can get it. And also deny it from xiye, because they haven't banned it, because they've banned Xiye, Sejuani, and the Kog'Maw here. So very much respecting Mystic once again. WE are going to take away the Camille, the Kalista, and also the Jarvan. So lots of focus towards bot lane.
Here's the real question, because I already talked about them taking away from xiye, but I wonder about EDG, because game 1, you could probably just say with easily that could have just been their win. What do they have to change in champion select? Probably nothing, just because of how strong they were in that game for the first 30 minutes.
So much of it was the execution, you know, as Analyst was talking about. It was just like Haro as he disconnected with his team. And as you go deeper in this game, especially against better teams, you start to see some of those weaknesses unravel, but you don't necessarily see them against the other opponents that they face. EDG did, however, focus down on Caitlyn as their first pick, so they give over Azir once again to WE.
I think that might be a good play, because even though I was wondering about the Azir being picked up first as a priority for EDG, Scout was doing so well into it with the Rise. The Rise been given away too, so why not just pick the Rise once again? Now with the Caitlyn picked up for iBoy, he has the range to kind of seal the nail in the coffin for the team if they were ever to be put in that same position again.
I was just going to say, right, it seems like a response to last game. It's just like, if you draw us to late game again, you put us in a situation, I will not get Gnar ultimated into the team and then lose the game right here.
Yep.
Caitlyn will solve all of those issues. So it seems like a bit of that, but just the priority for first pick is crazy. Varus was the AD carry, but we also get a Zoe into the mid lane for Scout, which was left open.
Ooh, I like this. Scout known for his assassin picks overall in his career. Great on LeBlanc. Guess what? Give him the Zoe. This time going to be able to get it for himself.
Hovering over the jungle pick now as well. I'd love to see another Lee Sin game, honestly, because Haro did exceptionally well in the early game. He was able to at least match up against Condi, but he will actually swap over to the Kha'Zix here.
A lot more just outright burst. A lot of outright damage if we were to look at the jungle mid lane synergy here. Kha'Zix will be able to deal that damage. A lot of gank pressure. Really feel for xiye this game. And we're only 3 picks in because Zoe sure doesn't have the wave clear. But that can actually work against Azir. If he's pushing that heavily into the Zoe, Kha'Zix is definitely going to be lurking.
This time we're actually going to see the Ornn come in from WE. That was a major factor as to why EDG were able to pick up so many towers in the mid and late game, is because Ornn's ultimate just kept on rolling over, able to chip away at those towers. But this time, WE not only deny it, but also pick it up for themselves here.
Yeah, I know you've been kind of crying out for Ray to get his carry picks. I think this could be the opportunity. Sure, the Camille was banned out, and Ray's pocket Jarvan is not even going to be coming to play as well. But he has quite a few. I would say Rumble is one that we kind of seen a few times. Maybe even the gank plank that we've seen around the LPL. Ray can play them all. Wouldn't be surprised if he picks it up here in the second phase.
I'll tell you what, Raz, I'm wounded because Alawi was instantly banned out from WE. They saw the Ornn, and we were just talking about carriers as well. And Ray, it could have come out, but it has been banned away here.
Yeah, no Alawi. Be surprised if they just go out for the, you know, pulse target. Get that Urgot out of here.
Yep. The pulse target ban. Yeah, that would feel pretty bad, man. But EDG are going to ban away the Zac actually towards Condi here, so removing some of his jungle options.
Yeah, one of the creative pathings that the Zac can actually have to do. Of course, taking Wolf Camp for all of that means that, what it really means that it's going to be a lot more difficult for enemy jungle to try and impact his clear a little earlier on. Maybe can steal very red buff. So Zac has been getting a lot of play recently, especially from Snake. So ban it away from WE, and also just cuts out the extra range he can get with his elastic slingshot.
Yeah, I was also thinking maybe there's a possibility if they had Galio, but I mean, the Azir's already been picked up. Like, WE, the composition that we've seen a lot of success on has been like the Galio, the Caitlyn, you know, the Gangplank, the scaling, but also the fast push coming out from them. But they have very much changed up style here up against EDG. Vladimir was the final ban from WE, very much appreciating that Ray could pick a carry here into the top lane.
I understand that they also just banned out the Braum against Ben because they didn't want the Varus Braum composition going up against their bottom lane.
Yep. But
would have liked to see a Lee Sin ban too, just because if you look towards the jungle bans coming through, honestly, not only was the Kha'Zix picked up by Haro, but a lot of early bans came through, the Sejuani, the Jarvan. Of course, Zac could have also just been Lee Sin. Could have tested to see what Condi would go for next.
It's true, not a lot left on the board for him. Maybe something like a Rengar he'd move towards at that point, even like an Italy, but he definitely has to push his champion pool a bunch there.
Yeah, Rengar, he's definitely the Rengar type, which is why I would love EDG to pick up Tahm, Kench. Sure, you can go towards Janna. You can have a Caitlyn Janna lane here for yourself. But you have Tahm, Kench. You basically make it easier for yourself and harder for Condi to ever look for a gank in the bottom side of the map.
Now, with all those bans towards top side, I mean, what's left and what's simple? It's Gnar into the top side of the map there for Ray, so going to play into the Ornn there. And EDG put in a bit of dilemma here because they have two great choices. They have the Tahm Kench if they want for the protection style, especially if Condi goes towards something like the Rengar. They don't know yet, but Janna as well would just be fantastic alongside the Caitlyn. It's going to be Tahm Kench, probably I would say the safer option here, depending on what WE are going to be picking for the jungle.
And already looking like a bit of a squishier composition coming in from EDG. They have the Tahm Kench, of course, and of course, the Gnar can build tanky later on once he gets his Black Cleaver, Frozen Mallet for the matchup. Then he can start building Randuin's Omen. But that's 3 items in.
I'm going to hold my tongue for a second because while we've seen it, there's still plenty of other options. Oh, he's got to swap back to it.
Wow.
Jax locked in for Condi here.
Here we go. We've seen a few. Press the attack. Jax is out there. Really low win rate here in the LPL.
Yeah, absolutely abysmal. 20% here.
But honestly, if you put it in the hands of capable hands of WE, we're going to be seeing a lot more aggression, a lot more impact off of it. Remember, we've been talking about the mid lane matchup, needing some backup if you're xiye. Knowing that Kha'Zix and Zoe will be eyeing him, give yourself the Jax. And I do like the 2v2 if it's a little bit drawn out, because that press the attack proc coming through from Jax, also the attack reset with his W, it's going to be definitely a major impact on how these 2v2s play out.
Definitely able to challenge. We'll take a look at, again, the early pathing. I feel like every single time we're talking about junglers, but it has to be the case when you look stylistically towards these two teams. And the fact that we now have a Jax in the game versus a Kha'Zix, like, we will look towards how they're able to affect the mid lane. Last time I saw a Zoe, She just went off because for some reason it was a gank in mid lane that was not a winning 2 versus 2, and Zoe's just able to snowball. So something to keep in mind in the early laning phases. Zoe is still very strong, even without scaling.
Yeah, and when you see these mid-card teams play the Zoe pick, you see a lot more windows available for Zoe. You see a lot more times where teams are not able to utilize the mid-wave push to kind of keep Zoe under tower. This is a major risk, of course, picking up Zoe in this composition, which is why they really put in the Kha'Zix as a priority if they're going to be picking up the Zoe, just so they know if they get those ganks off. Looks like Meiko's looking incredibly threatening here.
Now he's an angry chipmunk.
He needs to be an angry catfish. He wants to be able to help out his team, especially throughout the mid lane.
And Ornn as well into the top side. We're going to be seeing that from 957 in this game. He's going to be facing down Gnar up there, so it's going to be a relatively even matchup. There will be a slight advantage to Gnar, but it should just pretty much even out. I don't see too much pressure unless Ornn's able to push up, and then we see a gank in the top lane. But
I always love seeing reverse matchups here because even with the early trades that Ray was able to output on the Ornn, he was completely batted out in the early game, so we didn't get to see a lot of early game in the matchup there. As the game went on, man, 957 was trying to find that 1v1 versus Ray in the side lane. But Ray was always just doing something else, looking mid, looking at his own jungle, and always ready for the fight. Honestly, expect the same for WE now that they have their one.
As you can see, the audience is still packed.
Hey, Rusty.
And still just as loud. Honestly, who wouldn't be pumped after game 1? Because that was pretty insane. So I would definitely try and keep my seat. I would definitely not even go to the restroom and give up my potential seat at the front of the crowd.
Now look at the WE fans. They were definitely cheering on WE while they were still incredibly behind, knowing full well that they can come back into the game. It's happened enough times. WE will do it again.
I will say that's one of the fantastic key differences coming in when we moved over from Sydney over to Shanghai, is the crowd is just so passionate. Like, it is deafening how loud the crowd gets, especially for the big teams like WE and EDG. It's always going to be a packed arena.
Ooh, that's a fleet footwork coming in from Gnar. A lot of the times there's always questions, what would Gnar build in a bad matchup? Now, there have been discussions happening, the analysts, about the possibility of fleet footwork in this matchup, just because, of course, you get the extra sustain. And we saw how 957 was getting traded upon when the Ornn was in the opposing matchup. Sure, of course, Ornn can deal a lot of damage. It's just base damage up against the matchup. You'd have to use a lot of mana for it. But in this case, you might be able to come out quite ahead in terms of the life steal that you'd be getting back.
Yeah, typically you would be seeing the area into the top lane, but yeah, Ray's going to be able to sustain himself much more in the top lane. Because over time, Ornn just kind of grinds you down. The fact he's able to just pick up items during the laning phase, he just managed to sustain.
It's pretty annoying now that Ray here, with the fleet footwork Gnar, is going to be able to, of course, doesn't have mana, doesn't have the same problems 957 has. He should be able to stay in the lane much longer.
Yeah, but it is very much a laning phase pickup as well. I guess Airy to a certain extent is as well, but it's not much as a reliable damage to get later into the game. It will give you more sustain. And maybe you can use it to close, but its usefulness will start to wear off because obviously you're not going to be building crit on Gnar.
Oh yeah, 100%. At the very least here, by going into the precision xiye as primary, you get the extra attack speed. Speaking of runes, taking a look at Zoe's.
Yep, Gathering Storm coming in sorcery.
Anything's like last game, Gathering Storm's going to be doing a lot for yourself.
Oh yeah, last game was definitely the game to go Gathering Storm, but you can't necessarily predict it's going to go that long.
What I love here is the Cosmic Insight, and of course the spellbook here from Scout just means that, my god, CDR everywhere. Flash, who cares about Flash? We already see what Zoe's can do if you're in the midst of a team fight, flashing with your W. Now your regular Flash is going to be coming in a lower cooldown.
Taking a look towards Condi here. Very early ward came out though by EDG, so Ray's going to see this one coming. That's why he's playing back in lane. Respectful hop comes out there as well, so Condi's pretty much just wasting time here. Yeah,
he's going to be just fine. You do have to respect the Jack ganks just because of how easy it is to just kind of leap strike onto someone's head. So even though you're like, yeah, you know what, your gank's not going to turn into anything, but much like an Ezreal or a Graves, he just walks in just to deal damage to you. So you just have to be aware.
Yeah, jungle is actually going to find themselves on opposite sides of the map here because Condi is on the top side. And see Haro actually going for a full clear, moving towards the bottom side. Actually see the runes here, so press the attack. Very standard for Jack's jungle. He's going to go for the zombie wards and the sudden impact, of course, and domination.
I love the fact that he went towards the sudden impact of course, means that every leap strike he goes towards gets the extra lethality is going to mean so much in every trade he gets. Even going towards Alacrity as well, the extra attack speed helps up his clear and helps up the trades once he's able to stack it up.
Looking towards this bot lane, because by now I believe we had a kill as you go towards Mystic and Ben. That was very surprising, but very much less likely to happen when you have a Caitlyn in the lane, that was a great sidestep there from Meiko.
Yeah, that's the thing about having the Tahm, Kench, and the Caitlyn in this lane is that you kind of have to start to concede about everything. Mystic, hold on now.
Yeah, taking a lot of poke out from not only iBoy but also Meiko. These tongue lashes to keep on landing.
By the way, I know they're getting traded upon, but that's 50% of the HP tower, the tower's HP, 4 minutes into the game. Every single time we see iBoy on Caitlyn and Meiko in lane, oh, this trade better work well.
Meiko's going to gobble up his AD carry because Condi's on the way as well, so they need to make tracks out of this lane.
Oh, he's waiting.
Meiko is walking up. He knows there's potential gank coming in. Here's the stun. There's the counter strike. Lands it down onto Meiko, but he still has the flash if he wants to use it.
That was really necessary from Condi. You may look at that and feels like it's not that impactful, but with the pace in which EDG were pressing on this tower, that was needed. Of course, they're still not getting pushed up because Mystic does need to base. At the very least, he has Spellbook. This is what I love about this. He recognized that he was going up against so much pressure in the bottom lane that he can now switch to TP and head in.
Who managed to save this one out? So iBoy maybe even going back to base here as well. Meiko's definitely going back to base, though. They do stay in lane.
Oh, really good from Ben. Holds the wave. Meiko and iBoy pretty annoyed by that, so they stopped their own base for that reason.
Yeah, now iBoy will go back to base. He does have the spellbook himself, so we will be able to teleport back to lane if he wants to do so. We'll see how that one resolves. Definitely want to see if they keep the pressure up in tower. Meanwhile, top lane, Ray is very much getting the better of Ornn in this matchup, which is typically how range versus melee matchups go, and especially with the fleet footwork.
And he was able to proc 3 hypercharges. This is passive just because he was able to get the attack speed. And yeah, there we go. Double. Oh, look at how all these TPs in lane. Only Tahm Kench is really missing out because he went towards Resolve primary.
Yeah, he has not gone for his back just yet, but he's in a pretty healthy state. Apart from his mana pool, he's okay to stay in lane.
It's actually quite meaningful. Just the fact that he himself can't go back to base for that. Sure, he finds the plant, so he gets a lot of mana back, but it means that they can't levy the trading potential that they had. That Mystic will have the space to now kind of poke off with Hail of Arrows in his own queue.
At the very least, the tower won't be dropping in the next couple minutes. That is still a lot of pressure being exerted in the bottom side. Ray pushing up in the top side, and Scout pushing in the mid.
Very close. Might be able to get Ben.
Ooh, forces the flash. Flash after by Meiko. Forces out the stopwatch, but Ben, as soon as he comes back up, you're into a Caitlyn, so you're going to get a headshot coming in there. First blood over to EDG.
That's something you always have to watch out for, is the Tahm Kench swallow potential. Flashes forward and gets Ben. Ben makes one mistake and it's going to cost him.
Yeah, really hurts. And it's not even the approach velocity, the Glacial Augment coming out there. Haro's going to get the steal off in the jungle. And EDG with the early game aggression, not even just in the lanes, but also in the jungle.
No.
This paddle star's going to hurt. xiye did have the shield just in time. Going to mitigate a lot of that.
Thankfully, Scout doesn't have much more mana to be able to want any more from this fight. So, I mean, this mid lane's been doing quite well for xiye. She has been pushing in Zoe quite a bit, keeping him constantly using Paddle Star for the wave, which means that he can't really do much in terms of looking for pick potential.
And Scout at some point will want to go back to base, though. There is an aggression coming out from xiye. Flash comes out, burns that summoner, but Paddle Star in response, xiye will drop low. Condi was also there for the follow-up as well, but burning that flash in the mid lane is going to be huge for WE down the line.
Yep, interesting.
Oh, this is going to hurt. 957 has to pop the ultimate. Ray, this is him dropping very low. 957 looking for it. Both of them had flash. That's going to get very scary, especially with Gnar coming up.
That base damage always surprises you when it's Ornn. Jack's going to get him.
Well, Condi's looking for it. Ray is level 6, has Gnar, is in mega form, but that's about to wear off. Haro moving to the top side of the map as well, but it's level 6 Condi versus level 6 just dinged, actually.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, stepping out of the brush. You didn't see anything.
Yeah, they kind of converged a little bit. You don't want to go on to Condi and 957, especially since Jax will have his Counter-Strike. Not a good time to do that.
xiye returns to the mid lane. That's going to be the teleport used by Scout as well. He is now summonerless, but Condi has started up his red buff, and hello, there's a Haro here on the Kha'Zix. He's looking to chase down Condi, up away using the leap strike. Trying to get towards this blast cone, and actually, Haro will be the one to disengage.
There we go. It should mean free access to this red buff. Really good play from Haro. Immediately ding 6. evolves his ulti, and he's already way up into the red side jungle of WE. So much pressure across the map.
And the fact that Ben stepped into a trap means he couldn't block up the ultimate in from Mystic. And this tower's going to very shortly go down, just in this 2 versus 2. Condi is backing towards the bot side, but it feels like too little too late at this point.
Yeah, right now iBoy doesn't have too much mana. He's going to take this tower and just head on out. Because Condi definitely probably has his eye towards the bottom side of the map, but it's way too late.
Really is, yeah. He'll just go for the Grump instead, because this tower is doomed to fall. He can't really make a play anywhere else, because top side very much belongs to Haro.
Oh, at the very least, WE's keeping them honest. Right now, level 7. Mystic has the availability of his ultimate. See if they can turn this play. Now, usually what happens going up against Varus plays, you usually see Spellbook AD carries to switch to Cleanse and make it very difficult for the Varus to kind of get a play going for himself. It's a play that's available. iBoy holding on to TP just so he can keep the tempo in lane.
Mystic and Ben stepping up. They know that they can trade at the very least, but this tower is so low. If Haro actually goes into the bottom lane, it looks like it's actually pathing towards the bot side of the map, not only because its red buff is there, they will be able to knock it down.
Here we
They're
go.
trying to make a play in the mid lane. Scout doesn't have his flash, remember from the last play. Dodges out with the portal jump. He's going to follow after anyway. Condi coming in. Lots of damage coming from the Battle Star. Followed with the Conquering Sands. It's not quite enough damage to finish him off, and Meiko turns up to the mid lane. Actually, heal being used by Scout there to catch up.
Incredible. The fact that you think you had the timer, but you realize that because you used flash for that play, xiye uses his flash to get it in there. Scout steals xiye's flash to get out.
Haro, he's hunting. He's around the side. He's just revealed himself. Battlestar comes in once again, zoning away Condi. Comes back in.
Oh, here we go.
He's put to sleep. Meiko connecting the slow, and xiye very low, almost taken down by that one. Condi, he's the only member who can really defend this, but he stepped in maybe a little too far. Haro keeping him honest in this mid lane, forcing it back to that inner turret.
No.
Oh, it's connected. Go to. Oh, it's blocked by a minion.
That hero of a minion.
It moved as well.
Oh,
Save the president.
But they still got this tower. You know what, EDG? Not only did they deny an entire wave away from xiye, but they get the mid lane tower 11 minutes in.
Yeah, regardless of that, the tower will go down, and so will the bottom lane as well. No one to defend. Mystic's there by himself without a support, and the pressure coming in from Haro.
You know, this is a very, you know what? I feel like I've seen this
WE-like is
yeah.
what you want to say?
No, I feel like EDG already took these 2 towers in the last game, and it seems like we've chrono braked back into the last one.
Game 1.
Yeah.
It's not only like game 1, Raz, but like this is usually what we see from WE. This is pretty much what they coined almost in the LPL. The first team that we actually saw bring out the fast push Caitlyn was WE, and they did that a couple of weeks ago, and now EDG are doing the same thing to WE.
Digging right back into the champion pool, of course. iBoy and Meiko are very much, I would say, comfortable with the Caitlyn pick. They know how to use it. Now, are we actually going to see this? Do I actually have to see that?
Save him. Oh, what a hero of a melee minion.
He bleeds coins, too. He's
the real MVP of this game. I don't even care who it goes to. Definitely give it to that minion. But still, EDG with a massive early game advantage. I mean, the fact is mid lane tower and the bot lane tower down already. Next dragon's going to be Infernal.
Oh my
Condi
God.
wanted to block that, but at the same time almost didn't want to block that.
Yeah. So that's what happens when you go up against Zoe, or you go up against Season 2 Nidalee, is that you're like, I guess I want to hold my blue buff, but I also want to hold that HP.
Yeah, she is better be thankful the fact that Condi literally bled for him to get his blue buff there. This is one of those situations where Zoe was pretty much untouched, and she's been farming well. Does a lot of damage.
She got past a few waves.
Takes away your entire Raptor camp. That's 102 gold.
Oh my God. But yeah, she gets past the first 2 waves, gets past the first initial worry that you have of Zoe, gets Morellonomicon, so mana is not an issue anymore. She's probably going to get a blue buff after a while. So now she has got to say, oh my God!
Into the Battlestar. The guy's a madman.
He's actually insane.
Let's take another one. When I'm casting Zoe, I at the same time feel partially tilted as well as hyped to see how much damage that Battlestar is going to do.
You know what he was trying to do there? You know, if I was xiye, just soften in the blow.
Reduce the damage by getting closer to it.
100%. Yeah.
It's going to hit me anyway, no worries.
Moving
Top
sideways
lane.
is, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, definitely not. Top lane is about to go down though. This Caitlyn is really paying off. It was a first pick, remember, from EDG, and while we joked about it, you know, being an answer to how the last game went, they've utilized it so well in this early game. It's 13 minutes in, all outer turrets down.
And it really is an answer. Go back into, of course, green room, start discussing with your team. what was the problem of the last game?
Well, Kalista got killed by Gnar.
iBoy will just say range.
Yeah.
And that's the major difference here. He's going to have even more lane pressure than he did in the last game. And now it's a real question as to whether WE can just stall out. I don't know if they can, going up against the EDG. Because sure, you have the Azir available to yourself, but now it's going to be on Azir to somehow stop this, that he has that range.
And I would definitely say that game 1 was fast-paced. This is just even faster, to be honest. It looked like EDG were able to accelerate over WE. Didn't happen in the end because of, well, we all saw it.
Yeah.
But heading into the second game, they are pushing even faster, taking objective after objective. Now this is going to be the Herald taken. It's literally EDG just having to speedrun. Like, this is them just refining their speedrun route, their tactics.
Yeah, they don't want to start all over again, mess up in some route.
Nope.
They just want to be able to get it right on the first try.
Oh. Haro?
Pick it up.
Do you want to
pick it up?
Maybe it's going to go over to Scout?
Yeah, maybe.
It has to.
Yeah,
they can't just leave it on the floor.
No, it's fine. Yeah, he's got it.
Scout?
Scout's got it.
Anybody?
Scout.
Anybody?
Scout.
Is anyone going to pick up the Herald?
Pick it
Has anyone actually noticed?
You can't be serious.
How long does it take until it times out? It's going to go in a couple seconds.
Holy moly. Are you kidding me? Okay, well.
I think he just fully recalled on it.
They're not going to go backward. I mean, unless if Scout has the insight, recognizing that the jungler hasn't picked up the goddamn
What a
Rift Herald.
disaster. And it's gone.
All right. Okay.
It's gone.
Wonderful. Your jungler didn't pick it up. So it doesn't mean too much. It would have sped up the pace for the team, but ultimately they still have the Caitlyn. They still have the waves pushing in mid lane. So even though that's a small flub that would have sped up the pace of the game, they're still on track to being able to take this.
Ray, he's challenging 957 in the bottom lane. Haro's chasing after as well. In comes the Ornn, but he's already low. Ray's going to get knocked. Oh, it's actually cancelled out. Wallop comes in, but it's not enough damage to finish him off. He's underneath the tower.
I think they should start to rotate Caitlyn and the Tahm Kench towards the bottom side of the map. It would be all right, but you know what? Scout has good range here.
Go to sleep. You know, I honestly wonder at what point Haro's going to realize that he doesn't have Herald.
Well, I mean, it's already happened. 100% he's going to be pressing T or 7 or whatever he's linked his trinket to and realize that he doesn't have it to himself. So that's just one disaster that's off the table.
The reason
have to move on.
The reason I said it was just like, are they going to set up for a play where they would place down Herald? And then as soon as they're like, okay, Haro, place it down.
Well, at the very least, that last play, that would have been it. Because that's why I would have liked Caitlyn and Tahm Kench to move towards the bottom side of the map, because Gnar will not have the ability to siege upon the bottom side of the map. Ornn will just stick by, and maybe Condi will be there to help him. So, yeah, in that scenario, Rift Herald would have done it. Another option is just kind of bring in your dual lane. So you need to be able to continuously push this through now that you have the Caitlyn constantly chipping at these inner towers.
EDG actually did notice. They pinged it just as it disappeared, so they realized a little bit too late. So they do know it's down, but yeah, now EDG will look for another way to open up this game, because Infernal Dragon's going to be spawning about 45 seconds from now.
And honestly, they've been doing a good job at being able to. They don't necessarily need the Rift Herald. So right now, sure, the Azir turret's going to be doing a good enough job to hold off these 2 minion waves. But right now, sending Scout towards the bottom side of the map makes this game fairly easy. Easier than the last game. Because now you have Scout constantly throwing out Sleepy Trouble bubbles to catch somebody.
Oh, he's caught someone, and it's definitely just this Jax right now. Palistar just going wide of Condi.
But because it hit, has the cooldown reduction that you can keep throwing it. So that's the name of the game here for EDG, is to get the poke down with Scout and have iBoy constantly siege up on turret. This is a great siege and poke composition, and they can utilize it.
Yeah, still able to challenge these micro objectives, EDG. They have the vision down, they have obviously the jungle. Zoe's going to thrive in those scenarios. Walls everywhere to place down the Sleepy Trouble bubbles.
Here, like, WE's doing a good job pushing them off, but take a look at this. This time around, EDG have the split push pressure with the Black Cleaver on the top side of the map. Wait a minute. That's a Bilgewater Cutlass on Ray. He's actually going Play of the Rune King.
There's not that much health right now, actually, from 957. It's almost a response to what 957 would be building into later.
Well, overall, he's kind of solidified that he's a split pushing Gnar.
Oh yeah,
who he is
100%.
Now. So he has the attack speed. He's going to be going for it's honestly the biggest part about having the Blade of the Rune King in this specific scenario is the attack speed for himself. So he's just going to be valuing the mini Gnar more often than not. So right now, EDG cannot afford to be in these team fights. Team fights are going to be okay because they have the gold lead. But as the game goes on, they want Gnar to be on side lane, constantly pressuring out 957.
And as the goal, though, Condi is trying to shut that down right now as he just runs towards Ray. So far, this Jax is actually moving towards more of a tankier route. Hasn't managed to get too many ganks in the early game. And in fact, Haro is the one who's benefited a lot. Managed to get many, many camps over Condi while he's been looking for these plays.
It's kind of interesting to see. I'm still hooked on that Blade of the Ruined King bit. I think that it kind of works well with the fact that he already has the sustain from the fleet footwork. So it means that he has so many lifesteal options available to himself that pushing him out of the lane is almost impossible. That right now, Ornn is going to have a difficult time in side lanes, which is good, really good for him because now he's being pulled away from the rest of the map. EDG setting up for this Baron. So what is Ornn going to do? He wants to be with his team. Sure, he has TP. Right now, Ray is set, hell-bent on keeping him here.
Yeah, 957 very much has to respect that fact. Mystic's going to clear out the wave, though, in the top side. That's becoming hard to find an opportunity from EDG. Luckily, they have Zoe.
Thank you, base minions.
Yeah, really just protecting their masses right here. But you know, eventually that Zoe is going to capture a target. It is going to hit someone like that. Mystic loses half his health. And it's just this constant poke that's coming out, which is allowing and opening up potential objectives for them. Condi is going to get chased down. Just stun doesn't quite land out from that dazzle.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing right now, the composition EDG have. So many traps available to them. Not only the Zoe trap that she has in these later fights that she'll be able to put down there and make it harder for WE to rock around these pits. Here we go.
Taric put to sleep.
Oh, where's the paddle stuff?
Not sure, didn't see it. But
well,
there's always going to be another one, Raz. That's the thing with Zoe.
And you have the, of course, iBoy trap. The Caitlyn traps coming through to be able to make it so much harder for WE to traverse these fights. So fights are going to be hard for WE to find, and when they finally find them, you're going to be losing a bit of HP.
Condi's sitting in the side here, looking for a potential flank.
Scout.
Just Scout. He's definitely caught out right now. Counter-Strike comes down, goes into the Zhonya's, buys a bit of time, flashes away. iBoy's now here.
This is
Once
good.
again, Ben coming down, gets the invuln off, but Ben caught out by the paddle star. Condi backing away, wants to get away from this Haro, basically, who's doing so much damage on that Kha'Zix.
Thank God for stopwatch. It allowed Scout to be able to reposition off that one. So that would have been a great pick for WE if not for that one 600 gold item.
But he didn't even have to buy.
Wonderful. The value.
Insane value, infinite value. But EDG actually do not keep up the pressure here, because Scout now summonerless. Does not have any summoners.
It's a great time for them, honestly, to base, just because of how many waves they have pushed in. So what are W going to be able to do once EDG is already back on the map, placing down more control wards towards the Baron? The only thing WE can do is for them to base themselves. Probably sitting on a lot of gold. So at this point in time, just like the fact that all of these waves are something they have to worry about, gives EDG more time to kind of spend.
Yeah, WE stalling out in this one, but it's not the same as game one because yes, they have the Azir, but they also have the Varus on the bottom side who's very much shorter range than Caitlyn, who's going to be very strong in the late game anyway. And the fact that he's already got that 10,000 gold under his belt, turned into 3 items, iBoy is already pretty big, so he's going to be even more relevant in these fights.
Yeah, I would say that
Kalista last game.
WE's objective changes here to being a turtling team. They're now looking for these fights because they have the options for it here. The Taric is going to be so valuable if they can actually find a proper fight around Azir and Ornn. So the fact that they have Ornn here can be great value. And hopefully they find the time to kind of be able to contest Vision, to maybe place one ward on top of that Baron.
Yeah, and Varus is also able to start a fight. There's multiple ways for them to start these off, especially with the Dragon will be spawning in a minute and a half from now. There are objectives on map that teams will want to go towards, though. Baron also an objective. You saw WE just a couple moments ago push up into that tri-bush, try and deny that vision. Surely not. There's no way that Sky actually starts this off. He is currently carrying around a redemption, though.
Wonderful value on that one. Getting redemption for yourself. Long wall.
Oh, really? That landed. Moves on. The Paddle Star chunks Condi in with the redemption as well. You know who that's coming from. Scout. The Ion Cannon is down. Finishes him off. Ben. Can he get the ultimate in time? No, he cannot. iBoy finds the second kill. It's just one after another after another.
Look at the value on that one. I really would love to see the replay on how long that sleepy Drubble Bubble traveled. Right across the line of the Baron wall to catch out Condi.
It looked like he just shot it out into the wilderness and it just managed to catch Condi there in the tri-bush. 2 kills into a Baron and EDG, really just off of his Zoe pick alone, have managed to find an objective.
So much pick pressure. I mean, we didn't get that pick kind of potential coming out of Rise Maybe if he sends out his own ulti with a few members along with it. Zoe can do it all. So much pick potential along with it. Take a look at that. You don't get to see that. Clearing a ward in the tri-bush also means showing yourself to the enemy team. Get sniped out by the redemption, as well, of course, as the Caitlyn ulti.
And that's just a kick in the teeth, you know, being killed by redemption at all at the end of that. It's just like, yes, I managed to hit you with a Palace Star and 2 abilities, and that was all my health, but then I get finished by redemption. Feels pretty bad. Condi onto this red buff, but look, Haro is actually trying to contest this one along with Ben here.
Ooh.
That's going to go over to Condi in the end, though.
That was close. Great thing about Kha'Zix, of course, evolved E on Kha'Zix allows him to just traverse through red side jungle so easily. Not even able to see him if he's going through, of course, the bush behind the red buff. The bush beside the red buff. There's so many that you can kind of link to.
Yeah, it's just going from lane to lane to lane. Though, WWE have actually done a pretty good job of keeping this vision around top side. It's now being cleared out by Haro, but they are still trying to maintain these shallow wards at the very least, just to try and catch out EDG, and specifically Scout, because he's just sitting in these bushes, looking for sleepy trouble bubbles, just being generally annoying. But now towers are dropping in the lanes. It's not the jungle where the pressure's coming out of. Flash out from Ray. Haro is the one who's just trying to provide covering fire right now, as actually Tahm Kench arriving to this potential fight. Condi just loses most of its HP to a paddle star.
And you know what? Ray is getting HP back, so they can stick around for this. Condi is the one that has to think about, okay, nice Banshee's Veil.
MVP pick up there, honestly. Definitely need that one. Ornn comes in to clear out the minion wave, but it's actually going to go onto the Tahm Kench here as well. They managed to catch out Meiko. He's very tanky, but great Empress Divide. Meiko, he's not going to be long for this world. He falls. Ben makes the team invern, but there's no fight to follow. They just got the pick onto Meiko, but it has stymied the push out.
Yeah, nice ulti coming in from xiye to find that one pick. He needed that one pick. It's going to be a lot more difficult for EDG to find themselves sieging upon a turret without the safety net of the Tahm Kench.
Now moving this pressure down into the bottom side now. Both inner turrets are down in the mid lane and top lane. There is still one remaining in a bot side. May actually just wait it out. Wait for Meiko to come back. And also, there's a Mountain Dragon on map, so EDG will move themselves towards it. They already have one Mountain Dragon, one Infernal Dragon, so they'll be adding this one to their repertoire.
Whew. You know what, Pulse?
What's that, Raz?
I don't know, man. Looking at this composition, looking at Ray a little bit closer, going towards Blade of the Rune King, seeing how they lost the last game around team fights. Going towards this hyper split pushing build, it's worrying me. We were in that same position in game one. And sure, you have the extra range of iBoy, but they also still have to commit to team fights when they're able to kind of break through these turrets. Kind of proven to us in the last game. And if he has Blade of the Rune King with Black Cleaver, I really hope that he gets a lot more, let's say, HP to be able to kind of walk forward for his team when he does end up going Mega Gnar. Just so 957 and xiye doesn't start out the fight and win it out for themselves.
There's definitely a fear for them. I mean, he's going to go for that Frozen Mallet next for sure, but obviously he doesn't have almost any resistances against a scaling xiye. So if this goes on for another 15 minutes, that's definitely something to be worried about when you look towards WE, like Mystic, xiye, going to be tearing through that front line, because there isn't a front line. You know, Meiko and Ray, we've already seen how fast they'll fall, so it's something to be thinking about. But for now, EDG are keeping up the tempo, they're keeping up the pressure. And in fact, they're always able to open something up with Zoe. Like, even if they lost the Rift Herald, like, it was Scout who was able to find a Sleepy Trouble Bubble into a pick, into a tower, into a Baron.
Yeah, that's why, even though much later down the road, you kind of have to worry about Ray. For now, Scout is once again doing so much for his team on that Zoe pick. So, I mean, he's close to getting the magic penetration that we would really need from him. Leandri's Torment is one of them that he's building up for himself, and then you might see the Void Staff a little later on, maybe as his last build. Gets that for himself, then suddenly the poke that we'd see smashing xiye, Condi, and Mystic with is definitely going to be hurting 957 and Ben.
And hurting those other players even more, to the point where it's almost going to be a one-shot, but now pushing these lanes again, waiting for the next objective. Whose redemption is that? I'm assuming it's Zoe's.
You'd have to assume at this point. No reason, or at least no way Meiko's picking that up for himself.
Just poking away at this tower. And this is the key difference coming in from game one, is the fact that iBoy can step up, even without a minion wave. The fact he has that rapid fire cannon, can poke from a safe distance.
Yeah. Speaking of range difference from game one to game two, nothing says range like this from Zoe.
as soon as you get drowsy, you just have to walk back. And that's just a couple seconds where xiye is unable to clear the minion wave. And he is the primary wave clear here. So if he's the one eating those bubbles, it's going to be pretty bad because iBoy will rip apart these towers.
And the worst thing about going up against the Zoe as teams are starting to hit down on towards your inhibitor towers is the range that she has here, the way that she can impact the back line.
Ornn coming in, nice knock up onto the Tahm Kench, who's currently eating up iBoy. Condi moving forwards. The team is invulnerable, but they can't quite get into range. Big paddle start across the side. Ray looking for a chance to flag. He's knocked into the base though, and there's nowhere really to run. Meiko's down, and so is the top laner. That was a kill trade, and Mystic was actually caught out there by Scout. Okay, that bubble isn't going to land, but now the push will continue here. 2 kills over to WE, but it's actually EDG who are able to maintain the push.
Yeah, thankfully for EDG, the 2 members that really matter here, both iBoy and Scout, have HP and mana.
Oh, 957. He runs through it here. Oh! He did not need to eat that.
Oh my God!
Not again! Scout is just killing everybody. Ben, don't do it. Run away. Save yourself. iBoy. We're not even seeing this. This is coming out of nowhere. Ben! Oh my God, no! 1 by 1, WE picked apart.
What do you even say after
that?
This
is horrifying, Raz.
All right, that's going to be it for EDG. What a great comeback going from game 1 to game 2.
EDG. They will take down the Nexus, but not before they will finish off Mystic. Someone needs to take him down. It will be the Paddle Star. EDG, they'll take game 2. We found ourselves in an even series, 1-1.
Dog, that hurts. I'll tell you right now. At the very end, we were talking about how Zoe, once you look towards the inhibitor towers, the angle she can have to be able to influence the back line. Screw the back line. She's bursting out the front line, demolishing everybody that comes through her path.
It's just such a surprise because every person who died in the last couple seconds was at least 70% HP.
Yeah, you know what?
It's like, there's no way they finish here.
That's cruel.
Bubble lands, cooldown reduction. Bubble lands, Paddle Star hits. Everybody's dead. And that's how the game ends. It wasn't through a team fight, it was through Zoe picking them apart through play.
And how fitting it is that game 1, big focus on the range of EDG. That mid-range that they had in both Ryze and Kalista, and they couldn't finish the deal. Going to game 2, guess what they have? It was not only just the first pick Caitlyn for themselves, but also the fact that Zoe was just assassinating people from screens away.
Yep, the Chinese sniper coming in there, just assassinating absolutely everybody. And then WE as well. The game just accelerated so much faster than game 1 because they weren't able to get stymied out. There was a portion in that game where WE were starting to... Is when you were mentioning the build in top lane from Gnar, it's just like, that is actually a good point. It's like, is Azir actually able to clear out all these minion waves? But the short answer was no, because Scout, but like that was one of the major issues. If they didn't have Zoe there, I actually don't know if we would have seen that game that we just saw. We probably would have seen a game very similar to game 1.
Yeah, but the fact that they were just kind of focusing so much on the pick and siege potential coming out of that one, so they didn't have to fully commit to a team fight, mean that Gnar could just kind of go for that. So even though we saw him get blown up when he was looking towards the mid lane by xiye, he was able to just go into side lanes for the longest time because they didn't need to look for a fight.
Yep. They accelerated, they managed to finish off the game, and it was also after losing a Repel, so they still managed to make it happen. Good job, EDG. We're taking us to a game 3, but take a look at that game. Going to send it over to the analyst desk.
Another excellent portal jump from EDG to close out game number 2 and get themselves back to even 1-1 against Team WE. Again, our 2 world's representatives just a few months ago now clashing on the Rift. And the fans are having a great time. Here on the desk, though, we're not quite sold on the enjoyment of the fans just yet.
What is that band pick coming from WE, man? They let Zoe through the hoop. So their idea is we're going to turtle up, and they pick the Azir again. They're going to turtle, and they give the Zoe over. She is a great Zoe player. That's a bad matchup for Azir. And then they have to compensate with the Jax pick, which is a heavy ganking kind of jungler, and try to save the lanes. But the lanes themselves collapse. And WE, again, with a completely losing early game.
It's a from bad to worse situation. So I completely agree with everything that Clement just said. And now we need to also highlight the other part of that draft, which is the Varus and the Taric. Now, Varus and Taric should not get blasted by a Caitlyn lane. it should kind of go neutral. It's one of the things that Varus is able to do is he's able to push it out. He's got the sustain from the Taric. But Ben massively misplays that. And Mystic has virtually no tape on Varus. And that lane is just disastrous. I think at 9 minutes they were on 25% HP of their tower and just bleeding out. So Condi's looking at mid lane. That's on fire. He's looking at bot lane. That's also on fire. He looks up at the top lane. Everything is burning down.
Can't save the house if everything's on fire.
Literally
there,
the
but
dog was on fire.
And meanwhile, WE, they're saying everything is fine. We'll just wait until the late game. We've got late game, boys. But it turns out, no, this time they, in fact, did not have late game because Team EDG, they did not let up the pressure. This is, I think, the big difference from Game 1 and Game 2 was that this time when EDG had the pressure, they just kept pushing.
And we have to talk about the Caitlyn pick. This is the highest priority pick we had in our minds coming into this matchup. Both of these AD carries have not taken a single loss on this champions, 5-0 so far. And iBoy had 18 KDA before this. This pick allows them to siege, just like Raz said, without committing to the team fight. So once they had a tempo in the game, they could continue to snowball it to the very end.
And it's the fact that EDG have recognized where to hit Team WE, which most teams wouldn't even think of doing, which is in the bottom lane. You think of Team WE, you think of the power of Mystics. We had their stat comparison, we know that he's a huge feature of the team. But that was a Kog'Maw ban, a Xayah ban, a Kalista ban, and a priority pick of Caitlyn, and it forced Mystic onto a Varus, which again, he has virtually no games on. He very rarely plays that champion, and so now we start getting into this question of limited effective champion pools. EDG, it feels like they can play everything, virtually so many different styles. Even though they do tend to focus around their bot lane, they can do it with 20 different champions. Team WE, it's a coin flip. They've got like 3 compositions and 3 champions each, and it's starting to bite them in the ass.
Yeah, well, now we've got Zoe replays coming at you. xiye was the guy who was able to demonstrate, hey, we can play a whole bunch of different things and a whole bunch of different styles, too. Just trouble bubble after trouble bubble.
Second death by redemption we've seen so far in the LPL. That Spellthief nagging them another kill. And I really like this adaptation into the Zoe because she's so powerful against losing lanes. You can't do much when there's a Kha'Zix scouting for you and then a Zoe just sieging you constantly.
Yeah, I mean, we say it all the time that Zoe's overpowered, that this champion is broken, that she probably needs to be tuned down, the RNG, like we've seen it all over Reddit. But the reality is that no champion snowballs as hard as Zoe because of the nature of the tools on her kit. You know, this isn't a champion like Ahri or Lux where you just need kill pressure to snowball. It's the fact of her utility and how much zone control she has with her poke, as well as the CC on her Sleepy Trouble Bubble. So even if Zoe is even or falls behind, she still has so much more utility than pretty much any other assassin in the game. And then when she does get ahead, it is devastating.
MVP will go to that Zoe. 5-0-2. This guy was portal jumping all over the place.
At the very end, they actually fought a 3v5 and wiped WE. Clean ace just off those 2 carries. That's how much damage those 2 carried.
And you know, for all of the flack that we do give Scout, yes, he does have some questionable decision making. The fact of the matter is that in this series, even losing game number 1, he was a huge factor of why EDG even got ahead in the first place. So MVP of second game, huge performance in game number 1, and Scout is really stepping up.
He's certainly doing his best. We'll have to see which of these 2 teams will close out the series, though. The ace match, game number 3, is coming up in just a few minutes.